Boom. And we are officially live. Monday night power hour with the HODL Report. We'll begin to let people jump into the room. So if you're watching back on the rebroadcast, let's start talking. So we've got a lot of great things to cover tonight as we're waiting here. And I see people already bouncing into the room. So that's awesome. Need to pull up my stream on another device here. Let me pull that up. So, great. And I get some feedback. All right, there we go. So now I can monitor that. Make sure there's no delay. Awesome. Glad to see people bouncing in. We've got XRP Minute first in the room. XRP Carolina, what's up? Carl Lewis, Edward, good to see you. Stinkin' Jenkins. DNI sent everybody because DNI sent me here too. So DNI said you better head over to your stream, otherwise you're not going to be streaming. So nice. Let's see. We've got Dan, and yeah, see that it was almost Chip tonight. So if we stick to it, Chip, you would have been streaming. But that problem is we got like this day delay, so it's actually Tuesday for DNI, and he's living that 12-hour in the future. So he's got first thing Tuesday morning, and he's already seen everything that's happened over the night. So all right, we've got XRP Bananas, awesome to see you in. Carl Lewis, Ahmed Ali, what's going on? GXRP, Tina. Lots of people are going to be popping in here. There's DNI. What's up? That's all right, man. That is quite all right. So, awesome. We got a good group here. Let me pull up. I forgot to pull up the chat on the computer here. Makes it a little easier, so I'm not always looking down. Let me pop this out. GeoXRP, what's up? All right, give me a second here. This is powering up. There we go. There we go. I started so it's hilarious. I started to test out awesome, man. Awesome, DNI. Appreciate all that. I was listening for a little while, but I was working on a few things, so I wasn't able to type, and trying to type on the phone, man, it drives me crazy sometimes. So I started tonight testing out the Streamlabs OBS, that version, and I thought I had everything perfect. Then I was just getting ready to use it, and none of the filters, the audio filters, were in place. So I started adding audio filters, and then realized there were a few other things not completely functional. So I'm going to test out this Streamlabs. It adds a few more features, which are kind of cool. So when new subscribers join on, it puts up a notification. Allows the channel to see top contributors. It's really cool. There's a lot of real cool things. So Wazzy, man, see that DNI, see what Carl's saying. That's what happens. That's what happens if you miss out a little bit. You don't chime in, then then you get lambasted in the stream. So, all right, let's see what we got here. Randy Ripple. Let's have some good news. Hopefully, man, hopefully we got some good news. You know what? And I was going to say something in my mind. I was thinking back, and I was looking at the market the other day, and it was red, and we're going into the weekend. And I said, I bet Monday, from Sunday to Monday, I bet the whole market is going to have this significant turnaround, and we're going to see a lot of green in the market. And sure enough, you think about, you get people long day weekends, people are hanging out, people are, have a little bit of, time to start thinking through things. They're speaking to their family, friends, whatever. And, then you see a little bit of a surge in the marketplace. So I didn't check volume. I don't know if volumes increased at all, during this period of time. But what was awesome though is that you definitely see some nice big gains. You brought up Charlie Lee at the end there. Whether he sold off his bags, didn't sell off his bags. Either way, man, Litecoin is seeing some big gains. It's really amazing. They were up like another 10%, 8%, 10%. today, going up to like 115. That turnaround, you got Bitcoin approaching about 9,000. Yeah, yep. See that? Yeah, DNI. That's all right, man. It's all good. It's all good. Between Chip and I, yeah, that gets man, it's all right. So, but yeah, so I think, man, that that's really positive news. In my opinion, there's a lot of great things happening. We're seeing a lot of big transition in this space. Bitcoin has beat out both the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 for the year in terms of gains. So that with Bitcoin up 125 to about 130%, which is that's a big gain for the year. And then you're still seeing additional movement. So overall, a lot of positivity. Obviously, there's a lot of FUD. Obviously, the other night on, what was it, ABC, 60 Minutes, whatever garbage show that was, they were talking about digital assets and applying, the origination of, or the original purpose and intent of Bitcoin was to fund illicit activity within drug trade, et cetera, et cetera. So still spreading a bunch of that fear mongering and FUD, a lot of misinformation. But as we know, that's also, in part, their attempt at continuing to manipulate the market. And I think DNI really hit it real nicely. Wildstar, what's up? DNI hit it really nicely this morning with his vid. Was that this morning or yesterday? No, that was yesterday. I think it was yesterday. No, wait. No. DNI, I think that was this morning. Losing complete track as well. But had a great video and then highlighting that segment from the media. And there's obviously, as DNI said too, there's a lot of those different clips, but it was, news channels all over the country, all saying the exact same thing in different words. So obviously media is in part, part of the manipulation, allowing for these financial institutions to start their accumulation and really position themselves in the marketplace. So what's up, XRP, Angel, Connie, Tina Hall, Annalise George, Vet Bro. Good to see everybody coming on. Dansky. So we got a lot jumping in here. Yes, for sure. Thumbs up on the way in. That would be awesome. If you're new to the channel, first time in, make sure you sub. If you want to get notified anytime there's some new content, hit the bell. And that's it for that news. So, all right. So tonight, there are two specific things that I wanted to cover, and I think we can, really get into a nice conversation over this. I believe it's pretty important. It's an important topic to dig through. Others have covered. I've been sitting on this now for the past number of days. I plan on actually just doing a video on the whole Facebook global coin thing, or world coin, whatever they're calling it. But I kind of sat on it for a few days, then decided that I'm just going to roll it out on the live stream because I wasn't able to sit down and actually do the video that I wanted to do on it. Although others have come up and done videos, I'm going to put a different spin to it, at least my opinion, on the entire intent of what's happening with that. So before we get into talking about Facebook and what they're doing in the payment space, which I do believe is really a trend that we're going to see happening more and more. And really before that, just a thought, because the global coin, yep. So before I forget on this one, and this is significant. So, industries, and especially in the financial industry and banks, if they want to maintain their relevancy, just like a social media giant, they need to keep growing and expanding their reach. We see what Amazon did to retail. We see what Amazon did to Borders and Barnes and Noble. Obviously, they were able to crush them. So here's where. Hang on, let me activate that. So Chip had put up an article the other day, which was JPMorgan getting into the healthcare payment space. I brought this up on a previous video a few days back, but the significance of that, what that really tells you, is that, yes, JPMorgan is expanding their ventures, but getting into a healthcare payment space with the knowledge that they also have the JPM, token, coin, whatever, whether, forget the argument if it's centralized or decentralized or not, just looking at the purpose and the intent. JPMorgan, in order to maintain the relevancy in the changing financial world, with the new asset class and just development in blockchain, the growth of the digital asset exchanges, and the growth of digital asset exchanges moving into banking. So there's a lot happening. What's up, King Blue? Good to see you on. So you see this transition. JPMorgan now getting into and buying a company that is responsible for healthcare payment. And this all factors in. And I believe that when we see a banking entity in a financial space getting over and moving into a payment space that's very specific, that means that they're also looking down the road in the future, because everything isn't always going to stay the same within the banking space, just as everything didn't stay the same in the retail space. Who would anticipate that a lot of these big box stores that many grew up with, like Toys R Us and Sears and even Kmart, or again, Borders, Barnes and Noble, I don't know, any of the big box stores that are still going under and folding up, shutting their doors, which will all be happening soon, if they're still around. But people didn't anticipate, but they also didn't leverage their position in the economy to try to do things different from what they were already doing, and as a result, it killed their business. So so think about that. Then we're going to talk about Facebook. We're going to talk about the significance of what they're doing, why it's important to the space, whether you agree with them or not, whatever our opinion is. That's isn't going to be the point when we talk about it. So before we get into that, though, we talk a lot about government clarity, government regulation in this space. We talk a lot about what the SEC is doing or what the SEC isn't doing to help provide some sort of clarity. We talk about that the SEC is still using old antiquated tests like the Howey test in order to identify whether or not a digital asset is a security or not. But with all of this stuff going on, and with the fact that we're still not getting direct clarity through Congress or from government, the SEC has to continue doing their work. You know what? Just a big shout out real quick, and XRP Bananas put that up there, but King Blue has been doing some amazing work with utilizing fundraising efforts for St. Jude, and raising a significant amount of XRP, for the St. Jude organization. And really, a lot of, kudos go out to you, for doing that, putting that together. And really, making a difference with digital assets. That's really awesome. So, all right. So within the SEC space, again, they're going to continue investigating. Who the thumbs down, thumbs up, man. That means people are listening, whether they agree or not. It's always good to get at least one thumbs down. At least somebody's out there disagreeing, and maybe if they stick in there, maybe we can enlighten them a little bit. But if they give it thumbs down and bounce out, then obviously they're a little closed-minded, and and then what? But anyhow, so the SEC is going to continuously focus on cracking down, really making sure that companies are abiding by the laws that are currently on the books, based on whatever form of regulation that we currently have in terms of the overall. And so we look at right now, and this article came out on the finance magnates, and it's actually interesting because you have the SEC going after, let me see here, it was iPro, so iPro Network. And this was on this past Thursday. They filed it. They actually charged the operator of the website, which has been promoting a cryptocurrency called Pro Currency, which was part of iPro Network. And the SEC in this situation is actually alleging, this from the article. So let me just read a little snippet from the article. If you guys have any feedback, but I just think the importance and significance of seeing the SEC still at work, making sure that companies are still abiding by the laws, although they're not all exactly the way we need them, but they are doing that. So the SEC alleges that the founders of the company lured investors with promises of innovative financial products by selling instructional packages that provided lessons on e-commerce. So obviously they're selling a product or alleging to sell a product. And so there are obviously some issues going on. They're tying themselves with a digital asset. Here it says the company raised more than $26 million to finance the development of its blockchain-based direct sales network that was meant to pay a rebate on purchases made through the platform. So they're spending money to develop that, and so they're still in development. It not necessarily, it's not proof of a functional business, but they're trying to take money that they're raising, whether it's in their ICO or however they sold the Pro Currency. But it says here then the iPro Network compensation plan sees affiliates invest in Pro Currency while commissions are paid when they recruit others to do the same. So they created almost like a form of a pyramid scheme, by getting individuals to join as an affiliate, but then trying to recruit more affiliates and getting another cut of a commission on the affiliates. Who knows how deep down they're planning on doing payouts. Potentially a big issue with that. But then it says here that the SEC determined that iPro Network amounted to selling securities without filing a registration or qualifying for a registration exemption. So here, the whole concept of their Pro Currency has to do with making money off of the efforts of others, which is in direct conflict with the Howey Act, or the Howey test. So in this situation, it's pretty clear that they were infringing on the securities law, and the SEC is going after them. So obviously, and this was again, they just went after them. So they just filed on Thursday, the 23rd. So it's important to see that the SEC is really sticking to their guns and going after companies, and it's very clear cut. Whereas we still have an open discussion potentially with Ripple and XRP. Now, if there was true intent on the side of the SEC and a true opinion on it, the SEC would have already, brought case against them, bigger than, and really the case that is still outstanding, I believe it's still open, is the fact that there were a couple individuals, disgruntled investors, whatever it is, that made up they made up a case that Ripple was selling XRP as a security, and just kind of a ridiculous case. And these individuals invested a really small amount of money, and they're just bitter and suing Ripple as a result of that. And really, it doesn't seem like it has any legs, and so far that case hasn't really gone anywhere. But in this scenario, you see the SEC directly going after companies that are infringing on the Securities Exchange Act. So it's very, very clear in that scenario. So all right, let me just jump over here real quick over to the chat. Sorry, I kind of was in a single thought process going through that, and I was not looking at the chat. But Rain, what's up? Glad to see you on. Let me just scroll up here, see if you guys had any comments or feedback on that. If not, then we'll keep going. So see here. All right. Here we go. Keep going down. All right, cool. Here we go. Where is it? Okay. Do you think the real-time payment network developed in November of 17 by the clearinghouse, which is involved in over 50% of the U.S. bank financial transactions, hold a threat against XRP? That's a good that's an interesting question. I think that's something to do a nice in-depth coverage comparison on that. And really, I look at what's going on with Ripple and RippleNet. It's a much bigger solution. So take XRP. XRP on its own isn't necessarily a settlement. It's not providing settlement. XRP on its own isn't really doing anything unless it's used. So if you go to whatever the payment network might be, and I look at all the payment networks as good competition. I think competition is healthy. I think competition allows each of the entities to strive to do their best and really bring the best product possible. So in this scenario, let's say the real-time payment network, and so they're clearing if they are U.S. bank financial transactions. I'll have to look and see if they if that is the exact percentage, but they're the ones that are still utilizing an older mechanism of providing for the settlement. And so again, XRP isn't the one that's really going to be at threat in that scenario. The real threat then would be RippleNet. And so does RippleNet, the question in this scenario, in my opinion, would be, does RippleNet offer more of a solution than RTB, than they're as a clearinghouse, that even if they are, settling 50% of all the financial transactions, is RippleNet, again, is RippleNet offering a bigger, better solution? In my opinion, is yes. So if you look at the two, RTP is providing one aspect, one component. RippleNet is offering X-Current, which can be considered Swift 0.0 according to Brad Garlinghouse, and it is a very robust Swift 2.0. X-Current, and I've made videos on it before, but it is a very critical part of the communication process, and still offers a lot of other features and solutions. Through Ripple, they also have the multi-hop, which we talked about the other day, which allows smaller banks to also move currency easily from entity to entity, without having to use their current mechanism of transferring into dollars first and seeing multiple exchanges along the way. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can get that active. There we go. From Australia. Okay, there we go. And so now you have the one component. You have X-Current. Then you have X-Rapid, and X-Rapid is important because it's providing for the liquidity that, again, in this scenario with a clearinghouse, they're not necessarily providing liquidity. They're just providing the clearing. And so banks really are still going to have to hold their Nostro, Vostro type accounts globally, whereas X-Rapid is that solution which is going to free them of that. And then the third component, which doesn't get a lot of talk or traction yet, which is XVIA, which is the API solution. So you tie those three together, it's by far the most robust solution that's out there. Now, if RTP is offering a great solution, that's the discussion, and that's the analysis. Now, is RTP good? They're handling 50% of the transactions right now. They're the ones that have something to lose. So, but there's another 50% of transactions out there that RippleNet can tap into. So if they lose 10% of their business and RippleNet picks up 10% of their business, then you're starting to see the trend and the direction. So again, to me, in my opinion, competition is healthy, and it's going to come down to whoever has the most complete solution. And this really gets back into the conversation of, can you continue to do things the old way, or will the new solution the old tech? So if you look at what Amazon did to pretty much all retail that was sitting back and thinking they could continue to do things the way they always did it, and they suffered as a result. So I think that's really an interesting dynamic. All right, let's see here. I missed a few things here. There we go. I want to make sure I saw that. Rain, I should be. Yes, I think so. I just have to check my schedule. Make sure I'm here. Let's see here. Go down. There we go. Glenn Roach, Shitsville, Australia. I can't believe that's for real. There's no way that's for real. Let's see here. All right, we'll keep going down. RTP is a messaging service that relies on Nostro and Vostro accounts. Okay, there we go. So it's basically just there's this mosquito flying around my head. Here we go. Let's keep going down. Okay, there we go. All right, cool. Let me see. That'd be awesome, Rain. That'd be fantastic. So again, we see that direction with the SEC. I think that's significant. Now, I like the fact that we're talking about the RTP, and that kind of helps us, and looking at old, tech, moving into new tech, which allows us to open up the conversation on Facebook and their global coin. So where'd it go? I let that one in. We're all shits villains here in Australia. It's funny. Here we go. Jeff Rome, as a user, I don't want to care about the coin to make a payment or what have you. I only care about using an app and clicking 2 buttons or less. Ease of use, trusted speed, savings. I agree, Jeff. I think, from a mainstream perspective, that 100%. People really, it's not relevant whether it's XRP or BTC or XLM or ABC or whatever it is in the back end. The mainstream consumer, if they're making a payment, they don't really care what's in the back end. They just want to make sure it's exactly what you said: ease of use, trusted, speed, efficient. They want savings. They want to make sure they're not getting charged for it. The person that you have 2 entities. You have a buyer and a seller. The seller doesn't want to have to pay 3% in credit card charges. For every time one of their customers charges on a credit card. Sometimes those costs are even higher than 3%, depending on the system that you use. And if you're doing lots of transactions, you might get it down to like 2.5%. But that definitely has a big impact on who's buying. So overall, in this scenario, though, yes, mainstream adoption, they want a easy click of a button. If you go onto Amazon Prime and it just says click to buy, and you don't even have to go to your shopping cart or anything, you just hit click to buy and boom, you're on your way. Now, from everyone's perspective, that has to be the same exact process, and we don't really need to know what's going on in the back end. We just want to simplify, and that's it. So I like that, Jeff. That makes a lot of sense. Surfer 301 R3 testing finishing on the 29th of July. XRP. So that's great too. Anything that's developing in that space, I think that's critical to utility. Is going to have an impact for sure. Decentralized internet that being built around using Rust code with Kava, I think will be internet of value. I don't know enough about that. I got to look into that a little bit more. I'm not 100%. I don't know Rust code Kava. I don't know what that is. But if I guess I understood that a little bit more, and then looking at what they're attempting to do with a decentralized internet. And really, I need to understand that a little bit more. Let's see. The global financial reset. May is out in the UK. Brexit is on. French elections. Swiss and Australians are all moving in the same direction. Central bank system has failed. There's a ton of stuff going on right now globally for sure. A lot of that is leading up to what's happening, obviously, economically. Many of these countries have definitely felt the brunt of it. And then you have the banks, all these big banks that have been manipulating for far too long, especially the central banks and everything that goes on with that. And we saw in the U.S. too what can happen with the Fed, and we see Trump butting heads now on a pretty regular basis with the Fed in disagreement for what they're doing to impact the economy. And yet they're trying to do things but Trump comes out and really has been putting them back in place. And then you see some of the on the other side, anyone that would be considered an never Trumper or whatever, you see them coming out, the politicians, trying to, back the Fed or, making statements that Trump doesn't know what he's doing when it comes to the economy and, a lot of negativity. So, globally in the U.S., there's a ton of stuff coming out. So the French elections, there's so much. Things are changing rapidly. Definitely things are changing rapidly on a global level. So, all right, let's get into Facebook. So, I think that this is, definitely a question. It's definitely a topic to look at. If you look at the idea, and I put on the thumbnail, is the Facebook coin, is it another Ripple XRP killer, because they are getting into or planning on getting into the payment space. So Stinkin' Jenkins, what's up, man, with that? Thank you very much. Any XRP insight refresh on what's coming in June? I'm sure somebody, might have a little bit more, insight on that. If someone wants to throw some notes, that'd be great. Let's see here. Personal debt, corporate debt, countries debt, global corporate debt, global. there's a lot, DNI. I mean, it's all coming to a head. It's definitely all coming to a head. And it's going to be that central banks. The central bank debt is really, it could, be that undoing. Especially of the central bank entity that's not going to be then propped up by governments. They're not going to be able to bail out, if the country's debt is increasing at the rapid pace and rate that it has been. There's no bailout money. You can't keep turning to the coffers when it's not there. So, let's see here, XRP minute. The propaganda machine is running in full force, but that can't even begin to offset the will of the people. I love that statement, because it's the will of the people that has been holding, at least in the United States, and we see it happening globally, but I'll speak for in the U.S. It's the will of the people that, the deep state, the swamp, whatever you want to refer to them as, most of the politicians out there, they don't anticipate the will of the people, coming together. They've done everything that they could. They spent 8 years trying to divide us racially. Didn't work because of the will of the people, because people don't buy it. It's obviously there's tension and now it's amazing how they amplified race tension. They put racial tension where it didn't exist. Obviously there are and there will always be people that will be prejudiced based on someone's ethnicity or race or what have you, but that isn't the commonplace, and the person on the street. That tension didn't exist before the previous administration spent 8 years in office dividing us on that purpose. And whether it was their direct intent or they're taking talking points from another source, but the media played their part to spread that misinformation, as we continue to see them spreading the misinformation, whether it's now in the economy, etc. So I think it's really crazy. It's really amazing. And here we are. I don't know if this count's accurate. We had up to 50. Let's say there's 44 people on right now from all parts of the world. All having a nice conversation. None of us obviously know each other personally, other than the conversations that we have. And everybody is on the same page, and a lot of agreement here. And again, people from all over the world coming together in solidarity with the same intent. And I think that that's important, and this is what it's all about, in my opinion. And the powers that be will continue to want to divide us. So, all right, so let's look at this article here, because I didn't really go through. I'm not going to read the article. It's just really my thought process on this, on Facebook. So Facebook, Messenger. I stopped using Messenger on Facebook a while ago. Facebook, I don't use that often. I find it to be a little too much. And especially now, in the alerts, you can't forget about all that. That's not the point. So, anyhow, payments on the blockchain, I think, is really what's important. I think this is the topic at hand. So we see that, again, JPMorgan moving their focus of payments into a category of healthcare. We see JPMorgan developing the JPM coin with the intent of cross-border payment. We see Facebook now, who really, as an entity, had been looking into digital asset and blockchain, but they weren't coming with a full commitment to it. And you would think if Facebook came out in the digital space, what would their intent be? What would be their primary purpose of exploring technology on the blockchain with digital asset? And I believe they really targeted the exact space that it has importance to them, and that allows them to grow and differentiate themselves. And that's the fact that they want to get into. Farshad, what's up, man? Good to see you on. Thanks for the $4.99. Appreciate that. So again, so Facebook focusing in on the purpose. So of what's going to really allow them to continue their relevancy as we move forward. Obviously, there's a lot of changes in the social media space. Facebook, just like retail, just like banking, just like anything else, is going to shift and it's going to move. And if you don't shift and move with the industry, you're going to become irrelevant. And Facebook obviously sees changes in the trends within social media. They still have a huge customer pool. I don't know what percentage of their customer pool is considered active. I know they lost the younger crowd. Many of the younger crowd are no longer on Facebook and they've moved on. But there's still a very large portion of the people, like L. Richard. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but so there's still a large number of people on Facebook, and this is exactly what Facebook wants to tap into by getting into the payment space. Now they're trying to offer up, I forget what that platform was called, the Facebook store. And within the Facebook store was that you can sell your goods, whatever. Forget what it's called exactly, but anyhow, what's critical here is that many of the companies, and we're going to see more and more of them, are going to start dipping their toe into this shark-infested waters that we call the payment space. We obviously see that it could be from a large corporate cross-border payment transfer, or it could be on a smaller scale. It could be individual P2P. It doesn't just have to be large volume, large dollar amount, and that's where Facebook's focus for the payment space doesn't necessarily all have to be in cross-border payment, but it does have to be in a simplified payment structure that will allow people, regardless of where they live in the world, to interact with one another and do business with one another and do business with one another with financial transaction. So in order to tap into that, Facebook needs to adjust their business model to really accommodate the payment solution without utilizing a third-party payment solution like a Visa or MasterCard or PayPal or whatever it might be that still charges high percentage on either side, where Facebook can actually take it in-house without utilizing the third party. Now, we could have a completely different discussion on whether or not this Facebook coin, this global coin or world coin or whatever it's going to be, we could have a different discussion as to whether or not it's going to be a centralized platform or a decentralized platform. But that isn't really what's relevant, when we look at it just on its face, is that Facebook is moving and stepping into the game with a customer base, a potential customer base of 2.4 billion people. That's the significance. And so that when we look at it, is it going to be a Ripple killer? No. Is it going to be an XRP killer? No. Do they have the potential of helping draw attention to digital assets in a big way? Yes. Do they have the potential of going mainstream very, very fast when they go live in 2020? Yes, they do have that potential. 2.4 billion customers that they roll out a platform to. Now, the question really needs to be in that scenario is Tapline, exactly. But the purpose is it's different, right? So it's not an XRP killer. It's not a Ripple killer. Facebook with their coin and their entry into the payment space isn't going to, at this stage, it's not their business model, and maybe at some point it could be, but at this point it's not. What they're tapping into is what they have at hand, which is 2.4 billion people. So that is significant. 2.4 billion customers that they can immediately utilize for payment transaction. Now, whether or not these individuals actually use it, so we could really look in two different directions as to whether or not this could be super highly successful, or it could fail out of the gate and it could just be dead on arrival. And that's possible too. Google's had these amazing projects that fell flat. Amazon has come out with different projects that fall flat. Facebook has had projects that kind of fell flat. They all have projects. And even though the intent is there, it seems like you're able to launch to 2.4 billion people. But let's say none of those 2.4 billion really want to take advantage of this. If they don't take advantage of it, then it's not going to go anywhere. Jeff Ross, I did not hear Mickey B talk about it. I know that they had that conversation. I missed that part of it. And Brad Keim says it'll help. I agree with that. I believe that, and this goes back to the conversation we were having earlier, that competition in the space, as it related to RTP, the same conversation, Facebook is getting into the payment space. And that's why I said that was relevant and that was an important part of the conversation, because competition at this stage of the game is so critical for mainstream recognition and mainstream adoption. So again, whether or not this Facebook coin fails or succeeds, which again, they're going to tap into 2.4 billion people. Do they have the utility? Is there purpose? Is there intent? Is there need? That is going to have to be determined as to whether or not these 2.4 billion people, how many of them are active, how many of them aren't, how many people on Facebook are going to want to use their payment solution through Facebook. With all the privacy and other issues at hand within Facebook, people might decide that they don't want to. But being that Facebook is getting into that, they could even potentially then spin off, like they did with Messenger. They could spin off their payment platform, remove it from Facebook, which is probably the smartest thing for them to do, because the earning potential from a payment platform will be unbelievable. So they go to a platform to simplify in the beginning transaction between individual customers of Facebook. Then you spin off the platform. It could be big. It could be just, it's going to be another one. That's why I said they're dipping their toe into a shark-infested pool right now, because there's a lot of people that are going to be jumping into this payment space. And right now, Facebook isn't a payment provider in any shape of the word. So, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them. And also at the same time, you've got Facebook stating that they're going to roll out in 2020. Between now and 2020, we have more than a year and a half, because it doesn't mean they're going to roll out January 1. This means they're going to roll out in 2020. So you got a year and a half of development in this space, and we know that days are weeks and weeks are months and months are years in this space. And so a year and a half from now, who knows where we're going to be? Who knows where, Ripple as an entity at the speed at which they're adding partners. Stellar, we don't know where IBM is going to be. We don't know who's going to be really the kingpin of the smaller micro transaction payment space. Is Coil going to make some huge progress? Is the XRP tip bot solution, going to exceed and excel in this space? Because XRP tip bot is really the one. It's that kind of a solution that could potentially see a threat from a Facebook payment solution. That could be, the potential for the competition there. It's going to be the more direct consumer based, and so that's where it's going to be. It's going to be interesting. But Facebook rolls out 2020 again. That's a year and a half from now. So we're going to see a lot of different things, happening between now and then. But when it comes down to it, and going back to who made that point, was that Jeff Ross made that point that Brad was talking about on his show, that it's only going to boost XRP. Well, it's competition. Again, it's highlighting direct focus on this space. So it's not going to directly impact XRP, but it's going to impact the entire space, which is going to indirectly benefit XRP, because XRP is also used in a payment environment like that. So, and there's multiple platforms that are utilizing XRP in the payment environment. So that's where it becomes very, very important. Now, what's interesting from a social media perspective is that we're really making this big transition. And this is where, like right now, I look at what goes on with Twitter. It's direct engagement. What goes on YouTube is direct engagement. You see everybody learning from themselves. I think we've kind of moved, and we're moving, beyond the idea that people really care about what you ate for dinner, and looking at ass pictures on the beach. I think we're kind of moving beyond that, and so social media is also changing, because as people grow, people are really craving other things. So what do people crave through social media? And that's this engagement. So I think that what we're looking at now is a shift and a dynamic shift to learning, growing, sharing of experiences, like we are here, sharing of an experience from an investment perspective. And I think you're going to see education go cross-border, where you can sit at home in wherever in what was it said, Shitsville, Australia. You could sit over there and you can study from a professor in Harvard, and you could do that now. Obviously, they have online university, but there's multiple channels, even through a YouTube engagement like this. We could sit here and have a lesson on whatever, and be engaged, and so this is the direction that social media was meant for, which is really, again, learning and growing is really the most important part. But at the end of the day, the interaction, enabling people to connect regardless of borders or cultures, and to connect from a personal perspective like this, but to connect, to open up opportunities to do business with one another. That's the power. This is the true power. And I believe that Facebook is seeing the direction of and the significance of the cross-border relationship. So the other night we talked about, somebody sitting in Africa making baskets, and they deal only in fiat currency, and they aren't able to they aren't able to transact with somebody in the United States. They're not even able to transact with someone outside their village, because they have to utilize fiat currency to complete that transaction. They don't take credit card. What this is doing, and Facebook is identifying these needs at this level as well through this through this solution. I have to believe they see it, which is, again, regardless of borders, regardless of culture, allowing individuals to connect with each other with an opportunity of doing business, to buy and sell from anywhere in the world. So that's significant. Now, again, forget about what our opinion of Facebook is. Forget about whether they're going to succeed or fail at it. What is significant is that they're drawing attention and focus to this idea, to this concept, this very same idea and concept that is already being implemented and developed by Ripple at a larger scale, but utilizing XRP through smaller companies that are creating that micro payment structure, like through Coil. A lot of things happening in that space that Coil is going to develop beyond the website. They have a lot more potential than that. If you look at what Stellar is doing also to do an outreach to get wallets into and create the interconnectivity, just having a wallet's not enough. So now if you have this social platform, so in order for me to find somebody in Shitsville, Australia, I need to have been engaged. There's no way if you're making, I don't know what you can make over in, let's say I want a snake skin boots or alligator skin boots or whatever it might be, but I want them from Shitsville, Australia. How am I going to know? How am I going to find the person on the street that makes them when he doesn't have a bank account, he doesn't have credit cards, he's not able to develop a website, he's not able to do all that stuff, but he has a cell phone, and he can engage in conversation. And it can be engaged through a social media platform. Now, once you're engaged in that social media platform, now all of a sudden it changes the dynamics, and that is pretty amazing. So when you can't buy or sell, you'll want the chip. What chip? Just say no to the chip. Which chip are we talking about? Sorry, I kind of got down this trend and I missed out on a lot of the conversation. Auburn Rain, Facebook has a quarter of the world on its site. Too powerful and dangerous. How long is everyone going to hold XRP? Until I think everybody has their out plan, I believe. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Annalise George. This is where it all started. I don't mind being chipped on my wrist if it need to be. No need to bring a wallet when you go out. And actually, and I talked about this before, Walmart has a patent on doing exactly that, to hold medical health records, but I believe they have a much greater purpose for tracking individuals. If you put a chip in your wrist, probably not something that you would want to do, at least if they're gonna force you to do it and you have no choice, I'm sure there's gonna be enough people out there that are gonna fight it and make sure it doesn't happen. And I believe China has been trying to do similar things to that already. You always have your phone. Why do you need a chip in your body? You can. Why not wear a bracelet, or a necklace or whatever, and you have a QR code on it, and you can just scan the QR code. I think that would be a lot better. So, potato chips. I thought he was talking about Steven Chip. All right, so yeah, VetPro, exactly. All right, so think about what this all means, and I believe it's pretty clear at this point. We kind of discussed it in multiple different ways, but again, I don't believe that the Facebook World Coin is going to be an XRP killer. I believe they're both developing in a similar space. Is there enough room for multiple players? There definitely is. Again, are they going to be their purposes differ right now in terms of overall utility, in terms of advancement. XRP has been around since 2012. Ripple as a company has been around, for about that same amount of time, and maybe XRP was developed a little before that. But the point being is that there's a much bigger gap in terms of technology development And Facebook up to this point has not been in the direct payment space. So they're going to be starting from scratch. They might have to hire individuals to get into the space to really help them develop into there. So banks will have to work with Facebook, right? Banks will have to work. Yeah, I think so, Mac. They definitely, at some point, someone's going to have to work with them, whether it's a bank. They're going to have to, Facebook is going to go out and probably buy a payment provider, digital asset. I don't know what they're doing, but they must be doing something through acquisition and adding to their team in order to develop and build something. But they don't have the structure, the payment structure in place. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Yo, RTB, thank you very much for the tip bot, and also to Auburn Rain. Appreciate that very much. Thank you. I just got that. I was looking at the notifications on my phone, so appreciate that. And it looks like we're coming up on the hour. Let me just summarize, some of my ideas here. So, again, Facebook launched in 2020. We already talked about the involvement of JPM coin, and then you have the Facebook World coin. And at the end of the day, again, just to kind of put the cap on it, these companies moving into this space, which are huge, fish in this sea, in terms of recognition. JPMorgan, everybody knows JPMorgan. Everybody knows Facebook. The fact that they're moving in that space draws attention to mainstream adoption. And with mainstream adoption, that's what everybody wants, because mainstream adoption means an increase in utility of the space. Increase in utility drives increase of the various digital assets. Increase in utility is also going to drive consumers, whether corporation or individual, to solutions that are going to give them the best value and the best product. So although one company might draw attention to, people are still going to move where they're getting best value and best product. And so from a corporate perspective, a financial institution perspective, most of them aren't going to go and work with JPMorgan if they're in competition. They're definitely not going to work with Facebook. But that is where, we see them in different spaces. And that's exactly why, Ripple is in a unique spot. So, again, competition is very, very important. In terms of what happens with Facebook, I think time's going to tell. 2020 is a long way off for them to release. I was thinking about this, in general, where are we going to be as we see mainstream adoption? And I kept, thinking about this quote from Cartman on South Park, got stuck in my head for the past couple days, and all I know, it's going to be hella cool. So there's something on one of those South Park episodes, everything was hella cool. And so, that it was all weekend long is damn, it's been stuck in my head. So that's it. Let me look back on the chat, see what some of the comments are here, and then we'll start wrapping it up. And I really appreciate everybody spending their Monday evening or Monday morning, wherever you might, or Tuesday morning, wherever you might be. So it'll be awesome. Let's see here. Here we go. I hope Ripple makes a lot of relationship before Facebook's launch. I believe they will. Jeff Rome, Bitcoin. I'm not against Bitcoin. So I believe that right now the top tier, the top 10, the top 20 digital assets, many of them have a purpose. Bitcoin as first in really has a competitive advantage because they were first in on the market. And they're first in is as far as a globally recognized digital asset. So that on its own, the fact that it is a globally recognized digital asset allows it to maintain a certain status. Is it the right solution for payments? Probably not. I believe that the right focus with a Bitcoin is the store of value and really shores up longer term or investments that you're not moving a product or whatever that product might be. So it's not like you're not using it for payment. It's just long-term hold of value, like you're going to invest in your mutual funds or a stock or gold or whatever it is. It's more of a longer-term hold, where when you do have a cost and it does take a little bit longer to turn it over, you're not as concerned. It doesn't have that same. Now, as they develop, I mean, I could be completely off. As it continues to develop again, I think it has first in initiative. Which changes a lot of things. So let's see here. Let me go down. I saw some other stuff. Hang on. All right. Let's see. Mac, hopefully other countries don't allow Facebook to do financial transfers. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? I think that's definitely a hurdle that they're going to have to overcome. But once they go into the digital asset space, I don't know that, companies or countries are, once Facebook puts out their wallets and they have their app, people are going to be able to use it to move their Facebook global coin. So it is what it's going to be. And, it's going to come down to whether or not people in general that are utilizing it see it as an added value to their life. So again, look how many solutions there are on that side of it. There's a lot of entities that are trying to get into that space, and some of them are really big. So to me, I'm not really that concerned, over it. ILP ready? I like that, Dan. I think a lot of these entities are going to have to be ILP ready, because that's going to really be, the base of a lot of what's happening. So it's going to really change. Let's see, Facebook already looking at other markets for blockchain. I met a Google employee who are already working on blockchain. There's a ton of, there's definitely a ton of focus on what can be done in blockchain. And and every day, I believe they're going to find new ways to utilize blockchain and to build on the blockchain. Is really significant, from many different reasons. But obviously, I think we haven't even seen the impact of blockchain. Forget about the financial aspect of it, but think about what blockchain is going to mean for government from a transparency perspective, to see, I guess, from a money perspective, transparent to see where money is being spent, tax dollars. Imagine holding government accountable to every dollar that comes in through taxes, and understand, where they went. Richter, man, thank you very much. I'll definitely appreciate those $5,000 of future XRP. And you sent that through. Let's see. Oh, there it is. I see it right there. That's awesome, man. Appreciate that. That's awesome. So yeah, a lot of future projects, currency, commodities will run on RippleNet for sure. Facebook is just another player. I'm not really concerned about what their impact's going to be at all. It's just one more player. Like there's going to be many others. Because everybody's seeing this potential. And again, Facebook's initial intent is 2.4 billion people, and being able to utilize it through its own platform. I don't see how they're going to attract other people from outside their platform to use. That's low-hanging fruit. So from a business perspective, Facebook's going to want to go after their low-hanging fruit, which is 2.4 billion people. And again, we know there's a big attrition. There's people, just because you have a subscriber, a user, whatever, doesn't mean that they're active. So that's not active status. That just means they're subscribers to Facebook. They have a Facebook account. So awesome. All right, this is great, guys. Really appreciate it. Tomorrow, what's tomorrow? It's Tuesday. We've got DNI, as many of you know, we'll be streaming at 9 p.m. 9 to 10. Then we've got XRP Minute coming up at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Chip, if you want to throw anything up there. DNI, if you're still on, you want to throw anything else up there. And then we've got, so tomorrow's Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm Monday, Wednesdays at 10 o'clock. Chip is Tuesdays, Thursdays at 10 o'clock. Then we've got Auburn Rain on Fridays at 10 o'clock. And then Saturday morning, weekends, 8 a.m. I will be streaming again Saturday at 8 a.m. So Monday, Wednesday at 10, Saturdays at 8. And if my schedule works out, looks like I'll be on with Auburn Rain on Friday at 10 o'clock. So looking forward to seeing all you guys on the next streams. Look forward to seeing you guys on DNI's show tomorrow, on XRP Minute tomorrow. And with that, I'm going to head out of here. So again, thank you very much for everything, and we'll check you out on the next one. A visual schedule of the time slots. Danny, yeah, hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. There's a lot going on in the with that too. Hopefully we'll have some news on that. All right, awesome guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it all. Appreciate all you guys, and I will see you on the next stream. Till that time, you guys know what to do. Keep hodling your crypto. Check out that XRP tip bot. That's pretty cool too. It actually works. Didn't think it was gonna work.